Hello and welcome to STL Real Estate Roundtable. We are here with a very special guest. We have Kat Johnson. Kat, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into a little bit of your story, kind of what got you into real estate, and then the journey thus far, and where you see the vision for your business going, from here forward.
Perfect.
So,
I'm excited.
quickly tell us a little bit about kind of, if you could summarize your life story in 60 seconds, 90 seconds, kind of tell us a little bit about where you grew up and then what led you into a career in real estate.
Yeah. So I grew up in South County, right off Butler Hill and 55. And I grew up working for my parents. So they owned a wedding venue. So I grew up at a very young age working the coat closet, bussing tables, anywhere from bartending to being a wedding planner as I got older. So no stranger to hard work. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs on one side. And so that kind of introduced me into the world of owning my own business. And so after high school, I opened my own business, which was not yet real estate. I owned a fashion truck. And so I drove around St. Louis, sold clothes out of the back of a big box truck, just like a food truck. Did that for 5 years and then sold that and got into real estate after my mom had been nagging me for 2 years to get my license. So finally listened.
Awesome. And your mom is a very successful real estate agent as well, correct?
Yes.
Awesome.
So they sold their business and took off for like 2 years, and she got bored in retirement and got licensed just a couple years before I did.
Cool. So how did the previous jobs, previous roles lead to, the successful career that you've had in real estate?
Yeah. What's really interesting is a lot of the boutique world translates to real estate really well because it's a product-based business, and so is real estate, only the product's just much larger and a little bit more expensive. So it's interesting that so much of what I learned, like how to nurture clients, how to follow up on sales, and, really stay in contact and love on your clients, all translated over into real estate really seamlessly. And I would even say it gave me more of like a cutting edge and creative way of looking at things when I came into real estate. I was 23 when I got my license, so I was young, and most of my friends weren't buying homes. Right. So I really had to do things a little bit different and a little bit more creatively to try to stay in front of people.
Awesome. So you're 23 when you get licensed.
Yep.
Okay. How long have you been in the business now?
It'll be 7 years in March.
Okay. So now you're 25.
Yep.
Right.
25.
There we go. Awesome. So what's working for you right now as your business stands today, and kind of maybe even give us something that you're working through, like a challenge or an obstacle that you're kind of.
Yeah. So I'll address the challenge first.
Okay.
So I started on a team, broke off from the team and became a solo agent. And then within 2 years decided to develop a team and quickly grew it beyond what I could handle and brought on people that really didn't even want to be in real estate. And so learned a lot of lessons through that, and then became a solo agent again. And so we're here in now 2024, and I have a showing specialist. And so I've learned my challenge is I sometimes want to grow and be and do very quickly, and I went way too fast and learned that lesson really hard and really fast. So they talk about, the faster you can fall and get back up, so I'm in my get back up phase. So honestly, I think the biggest thing that I'm working through right now is like, where do I take this next? I think the beauty of being in real estate is that you as the business owner get to kind of dictate what your next steps are. As I said, I've almost 7 years in the business. I now have 2 young kids. My world looks totally different than it did when I started at 23 and my husband was getting his master's. So I had all the time in the world to do work. And now I don't want to do work all the time. I want to be with my family as well. So I'm working on building a business around my family, which looks totally different than it did back a few years ago. So what's working for me right now is a combination of things, but social media being the biggest lead lever for me. I, over the last 2 years, have really put a focus and an emphasis on specifically targeting a very niche group of people. And I'm starting to reap the rewards of that. Specifically within the last 6 months, I've really focused on new construction. So if you go, quick plug on Instagram and find me at Kat Johnson Realtor, you're gonna see that I make a lot of reels walking in the dirt at new construction lots, or what do you think about this kitchen, or different things like that. And I talk about the builder incentives. What I've come to learn, my ideal client is the move up family. They're selling their first house, or I'm teaching them how to keep it as a rental property, and they're buying or building the next house. And so tapping into that and really leaning in on that, I have been, not only am I teaching my client how to reach out to me much sooner, because if they plan to build, they need to be talking to me a year and a half in advance. And they are. And also capturing people that I didn't even know were watching. So social media has gone so much farther than I ever could have imagined.
Yeah. So I want to get back to social media, but you said something that I want to hit on now, is that you have 2 small boys, right? So you talk about kind of the transition of your business from going to where you can work all the time, right? Client calls you at 8 p.m. on a Saturday, Friday night, and you're out showing the property, I would assume, right? And then now you're transitioning to this stage of your career where a family is really important, right? You want to be a present mom at home. So talk to me a little bit about, one, your favorite part of being a boy mom.
Okay.
2 boys, right?
2 boys.
2 boys. So favorite part about being a boy mom, and then just kind of the importance of family and where that plays into your business.
I think I definitely underestimated what it would look like to be a mom, and my favorite part about being a boy mom, gosh, they stretch me beyond what I maybe want to be stretched at times. They're crazy. No one prepares you for boys. No one. The climbing of the walls, I mean, it's wild. So they stretch me, and honestly, I'm growing into be a better person because of it, and they stretch me in the best ways. So I'm enjoying the journey of learning how to parent boys, to be honest. I mean, it's wild, and they're hilarious at the same time. The farts, I mean, I tell you. So all of that to say, I've really kind of held tightly to, I built a really big business, 2022 as a solo agent, did 52 units, 14 million in volume. And I wanted to ramp that up. So my goal the following year was to build a team, and I was purposefully scaling back a little bit so that I had time to build this team, so that this year, 2024, I could take off like a rocket, hit 80 to 100 units. That was my thought. That didn't work out in the way that I thought it would. And I think what I've realized is I don't want to get to that point. And it took me building that team and no longer having that team to realize I was building something that someone planted a thought in my head. It wasn't of my own. And so if I really get back to the roots and what's important to me, it's my family and the time and all that. And I know that my clients also have those same values. A big portion of attracting your ideal client is my ideal client aligns with me in a lot of those ways. So when I say to them at the table, hey, I have a showing assistant, her name's Grace, and we partner on all of our transactions. So if there's ever a time that I'm tucking kids into bed or having dinner, or I'm working with another client, she's going to be the one that's going to show you the property. However, I'm still your agent. I'm there batting for you during the transaction. And I never have an objection to that. And so I think what I realized is I'm able to do both, but I don't have to also take it to the next level of 100 transactions. Sometimes growth, at least for me in my perspective, growth is knowing when it's okay to not go to that next level. It's okay to just be present in the time that you have. Because my oldest will be in kindergarten next year already. So it's like time flies by so fast, and there will be a time where I'm going to chase that mountain and I will do it. But now's not that time.
Yeah. That's so fascinating to hear you say you were chasing someone else's goal, not your own. Right. And to have the awareness to realize that, take a step back, take a breath, and then go after what you really want.
Yep.
Right? So that's incredible. What is, if you give Kat a follow on social, you'll be amazed. She's worth a follow, so I'll give that plug right now.
Thank
you. You've built an impressive following on social media, and one of your pillars right now, it appears from the outside looking in, is pouring into agents.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about that and kind of the strategy or the thought process behind that approach.
So in my journey as an agent, I was a PC coach, which is a productivity coach, for 1 year before I had my oldest. And after he was born, I didn't have the time to jump back into it, but something that I love and is teaching and pouring into other people. So I wanted to figure out a way that I could do that creatively and on my own time, for my own benefit. Honestly, I genuinely enjoy it. What I didn't realize, and now have come to realize, and a reason why I'm pushing really hard on that lever, is agent-to-agent referrals. I have connected with agents all across the nation. I just coached a gal in New York for the last 8 weeks in one of my boot camps, and she's a phenomenal agent. And so I'm building these relationships all across the country that are now actually turning into real estate leads, which I hadn't really thought of, but it makes sense. And so that's part of it. So agent-to-agent referrals, but also I'm looking at it as another stream of income too. It wasn't my initial thought, but it has snowballed into that. And so it's something that I'm really, really enjoying, and my followers seem to be enjoying it too.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So as far as, the approach to social media, and I don't know if you're like me, but oftentimes I consume more than I create on social media.
Totally.
So what would be your advice to agents that have a big business that aren't present on social media? Kind of what's the untapped potential that they're missing out on, and maybe some advice to those people?
My advice would be build a personal brand. Start there, because people want to work with people that they know. If all you're posting, or all you've been taught to post, is I just listed this house just sold, this house went under contract, yay, look at me, I've sold 17 million. Like, first of all, your clients don't know the difference between $2 million of real estate sold and $14 million. Like, they just don't, that doesn't resonate with them. That's more of like an agent showing off for another agent. Like, you're speaking agent language. You need to speak client language. And that is, they want to know about you. Who are you? And a lot of times when I tell agents that, they're like, well, I don't want to post my kids, or maybe I don't want to talk about that. That's fine. Pick the 3 to 5 pillars or buckets of things that you do want to talk about. Are you into golf? Are you into food? Are you into cocktails? Are you into coffee shops? Find something that's not real estate related and build a brand based on a couple of those things. Start there and then trickle it in, because people will connect with your real estate content so much more when they know who you are. That would be where I would start.
That's great advice. So as far as your career up until this point, are there any particular lessons learned, or, missed opportunities, or any instances where you really can pinpoint where, oh, this was a huge moment of growth for me in my career?
Honestly, the team situation is a huge growth thing, and it's something that I'm still growing through, like, right now. I went out on my own with intentions to build a team at some point, and it took 2 years to get there. And I just think the growing pains of that is like understanding, again, going back to that, like understanding your values, understanding who you are. Sometimes at the time that I grew the team, I had a coach. It's not my current coach. And they coached very much to the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, which I think is great. It's a great book. Everyone should read it. And yet my business and the way that I want to shape it looks much different as a mom in her 20s. You know, I'm not scaling to $1 million. That's not where I'm at in life. And so I think the growing pains of that is like coming to realize that and laying it down a little bit for right now, but also building a really big business at the same time. Like, the business that I have is nothing to snuff at. It's different in this season. And I think I'm like growing to like not cringe at that.
Right. So you mentioned you have a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of agents that like to do their own thing, right? Be left alone. Like I've got it together. Like as a successful agent, you're still learning, you're still growing, you're still having someone in your corner that's holding you accountable to the goals that you've set, even if they look a little different, right? So talk to us a little bit about coaching and why you choose to be coached.
Yeah. I am a huge proponent of coaching. That's part of why I love to coach other agents who are, you know, social media related things and systems. But I fully believe that coaching is why I'm as far in my career as I am today because of who coached me early on. And so there have only been a few pieces of my career or moments of my career where I didn't have a coach. And so I find that as a solo agent and now micro team, it's very easy to just like get in the weeds and do whatever you want and get away from your budget or spend money on this or that or whatever. And when you don't have someone that's just at least checking you, like, hey, are you sure about that? Is that really what you want? Is that going to help you stay at home more with your kids? Is that decision going to make sure that you're home on date night? Like, if I don't have that, it's very easy for me to just say, I'm going to work all the time because I enjoy what I do. So for that purpose, no matter where you're at, you know, I have a business coach right now who's helping me keep the business the way that I want it to be rather than let it get out of control. I've also hired social media coaches. That is where I've learned what I know and how I've been able to build that arm. It's not something I've kept up with because I've learned what I need to learn and I've implemented it. But I think it's so interesting that, you know, people will hire trainers if they want to get fit or nutritionists if they want to eat better, but they're not willing to hire a business coach if they want to do business better. I think if you want to grow and you want to do it fast and you want to do it the right way, you have to have a coach. You have to have somebody in front of you.
That's gold. That's gold. I love it. So you talked a little bit about your ideal client.
Yep.
Right. And how you kind of tailor your social media towards attracting that ideal client. So for those listening, right, you might be her ideal client. So I want to give you the opportunity to give your elevator pitch to who your ideal client is, and then what's a unique quality about you or your business that you serve that ideal client in a really, really high level.
Yeah. So my ideal client, if you're watching or listening, is typically a young family or young couple in their first house. They've been in that house anywhere from 1 to 4 years typically, and they're running out of space. Maybe they're now working from home or they're adding kids or more dogs and they need more space inside or out for the pups or the babes. And so they need to move up into the next house, whether that be school district or whatever. And they're considering moving into a bigger home or building one. Typically, there's a debacle or a debate amongst either husband and wife, or just they don't know which way to go. And so they're trying to figure out which builder or which subdivision or which location. And that's where I come in. So my unique proposition is I kind of act like a guide. So I come in, we assess what you guys have, know how much money you have to play with, figure out if it's important to keep it as a rental or get rid of it, and what it would look like in each scenario if we went here, here, or here. And I work as a guide, lay it all out for you, and then they get to pick. I laid the roadmap.
great. That's great. Now, you invest in real estate as well.
I do.
Okay. So take us through quickly your investing journey and why you choose to invest in real estate.
Yeah. So we flipped our first house in 2021, which was quite a learning experience.
I remember talking to you about this.
Yes. And we have not flipped a house since. Now, we didn't lose money. We didn't necessarily make much money, but the reason why we bought it was the margins were so great. I mean, it was just like, if we were going to buy a house, it was this one because I knew like we would have to really go wrong if we were going to lose money. And we did. Contractors at the time, it was still in the midst of, early 2021. So midst of COVID, contractors would be like, yeah, I'll be there at 10 a.m. on Thursday. They wouldn't show up. I'd have to find 2 more. It was just crazy. It was nuts. We thought it'd take 3 months. It took 9. All the meanwhile, I'm pregnant with our second unexpectedly. And so growing a child, flipping a house, getting it on the market, it closed a week before I had the baby. That's all I cared about at that point in time. So all of that to say, we met amazing contractors. We learned a ton. I now know how to do several things around the house. We then, that next year, bought our first rental property. We have a specific area that we target, which is near our home. We live in Jefferson County because there's not a lot of single-family rentals around us, and there's a huge need. We have a ton of apartment complexes and things like that, but there's not a lot of good-sized homes that are rentals. So we saw an opportunity. So we bought this house. It's been a great little house. We have amazing tenants. We actually just extended their lease for 6 months, so hoping they stay even longer. What's funny is they're my ideal client, so you never know. And then we did just buy a second rental last November, so we've had that one almost about a year now, and that one's great. We learned a very hard lesson there. Don't always buy as is and completely waive everything, because the day after your tenant moves in, you might have a sewer backup that costs you $6,000. So, I would at least say do a sewer inspection.
Lessons learned.
Yes.
Lessons learned. Cool. So as we wrap up here, I believe that readers are leaders. And so, Kat, I want to ask you, what is the most impactful book that you've read? Either, personal development, it could be fiction, whatever it may be. What's an impactful book that you've read or are currently reading right now?
So I have 2. Relationships First. Can't think of the rest of the title, but Relationships First is how it starts, by Emily Frisella. And then Who Not How, and I believe it's by Dan Sullivan. Both of those books I read during the end times of my team, and it was really, I wish I'd read them before, because I think it would have really changed my perspective on people and who I was hiring and how my thought process around succeeding through others really looks.
Awesome. Well, Kat, thank you so much for spending time with me today. This was great. And I know it's going to be valuable for all those that are listening and watching. So
awesome.
Thank you. Can't wait to see you on the next episode.
Bye, guys.